Hey, what's up everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I'm sitting here listening to music. It's early in the morning. I'm having a good time. There's nothing wrong at all. I'm thinking about Anthony Davis, believe it or not, and his string with the flu. It hit me like a ton of bricks while I'm randomly listening to music. Someone said something in the comment section. I think it was the comment section, or maybe it was who cares? Point is, if Anthony Davis has the flu, chances are other people can get it. Bottom line. And so if that's the case, chances are if we have a string with the flu, we're going to lose these road games. And I think having him play a back-to-back tonight in Toronto, we got to look at it like this. This is a 7-footer with the flu who's hopping off of one plane from Cleveland and going to Toronto to play the very next night. He didn't play last night, and he's supposed to play today. That's not only is it unrealistic, I don't even think it's smart to put him out there. If he has the flu, then we need to get him away from the rest of the team. So in my mind, the way we look at this road trip, where are we at? We've already won 2 games in this road trip. How many games do we expect to win in this road trip? I don't think we expected to win more than 2 games in this road trip. Not punting the road trip is a headache for a multitude of reasons, because obviously we need wins right now. And at the end of the day, I think we can beat Detroit without... We're going to beat Detroit because they don't want to win basketball games. So we can count on at least getting one more win if we put a good effort out there. I don't know that we can beat any version of Philadelphia without Anthony Davis and Wenyen Gabriel. I don't know that we can beat any version of the Toronto Raptors without Anthony Davis and Wenyen Gabriel. That's my thing. So if we don't have Wenyen Gabriel already removed from the lineup, then chances are if Anthony Davis ain't playing absolutely at 100%, we ain't got no chance at beating these teams. So in my mind, what we have to do is strategize. Now, I don't know how the Lakers view this or how Darvin Ham views this or what have you, but in my mind, it looks pretty damn imminent based on what we saw last night against the Cleveland Cavaliers that we really are not very competitive without those pieces. So chances are we ain't winning these games. I do think it might make a lot of sense, depending on what's going on with Anthony Davis and that flu, to send him back to Los Angeles. That's essentially what I'm saying. He shouldn't even be playing no more in this road trip. If he has the flu, then chances are he needs to be away from the team. Somewhere where he can't give it to nobody else on the team. Because if we start losing players to the flu, that could get us leaning on LeBron James too much, and we're going to be waiting for that injury that he's going to be catching because we lean on him too much. And that's the only thing I'm thinking about. At this time, we are far too reliant upon 3 players as it pertains to our cap. So the most important thing we need to do is guard against anything that would otherwise remove those players from the lineup for a very long time. And the way I see it is keeping fresh bodies on the floor is the most important thing for the Los Angeles Lakers. So if they're removed for flu or the always looming health and safety protocol or obvious injuries that we face, it has us leaning on too many players that we're ultimately not wise for leaning on too much. And so this is a lot of things to cover. Obviously, you can't protect against everything. In my mind, I know what needs to be fixed, but trying to execute it is an entirely different thing. But I think one thing that you can try to guard against is an outbreak of the damn flu. Now, I did read somewhere that someone said that Anthony Davis may have tweaked his back on a fall as he was attempting a play. So if it isn't the flu, then disregard everything I'm saying. And if it's a back injury, then we got worse things to think about, obviously. But nevertheless, if it is the flu, the only thing I'm thinking about is how contagious that damn thing is. You know what I mean? Now, if it's a stomach flu or something like that, different story. If he ate something, different story. But if it's just like one of those regular East Coast swing road trips where you caught the flu because you had to go through the airport or something like that, then obviously this is something that can happen. And we've seen it a million times. With the Los Angeles Lakers over the years, we've seen players catch the flu and stuff like that, and it gets spread through the team, or other teams catch the flu. We've seen chicken pox spreads and stuff like that, measles spreads. Like in the NBA, there's been some strange stuff sometimes that have affected teams and multiple teams. And so it's one of those situations where it's like you just gotta try to use the data from the old, stuff that we've seen in the past, and try to apply it to trying to anticipate how best to guard against what's possible. So that's what I try to do. I don't know how many people think this way or what have you, but when you consider how the Lakers are constructed right now, it's just impossible to win without Wenyen Gabriel in my mind. And judging by what we saw, we're going up against more of the same. Not necessarily the type of length that Mobley and Allen provide, but something similar. You consider the type of players that the Toronto Raptors are going to be running out there. And of course, we'll be talking about that game a little later because this is not a breakdown of that. But, throughout the road trip, you're going to be seeing players like, Joel Embiid is going to be coming up very soon. We got Jalen Duren and of course, Stewart and those guys in Detroit. And, it's one of those situations where it's like, yeah, I pretty much think the Lakers are going to lose without the length necessary to really take care of it. I mean, obviously guys can play better than they did yesterday. Maybe guys can hit shots or what have you, but these matchups just don't favor us. And so if we already concede that that is the case, then chances are we shouldn't do anything outside of what makes sense for our overall bigger picture in regards to the rest of this road trip. And so that's what I'm thinking about. I know for a fact LeBron James is playing on a bum foot. He's rolled that ankle 3 times in the last 2 weeks, twice this week. And so nobody's talking about that in regards to him trying to come back and fight his way back to the Cavalier game and score 60 points or whatever people want him to do. But I'm very much aware that he's not 100% and he's running around out there. So I would not be opposed to not shutting him down, but like sitting him in one of these games. I just think it's smart, man, especially when you know you're strategically outmatched. It gives you the out to do so. It gives you a tank-like atmosphere about yourself to where you're not necessarily losing on purpose at all, but you understand that a loss is going to be conceded, so you do what you need to do to maintain health in those circumstances as a means of strategizing your 82-game schedule. So it's what's necessary, unfortunately, and I don't know that what I'm suggesting is the best decision for this team right now. It just depends on what the facts are. But if it's flu, for AD, then I think he should be sent home to LA. And one thing that I do understand is at the very beginning of this homestand that we have is a big game against the Boston Celtics. And we're going to want Wenyen Gabriel, we're going to want LeBron James, and we're going to want Anthony Davis 100% healthy for that matchup. And I'm not saying I'm overlooking the teams in front of us, but I am saying that's the next game where I can say there should be no excuse for anybody to not be healthy between now and then if we manage everything properly and don't have any setbacks with other people in their health. That's what I'm saying to you. All these other games, if we play people in them, chances are they're playing a little too soon, or if it's the flu, playing at risk, or if it's a back, playing at risk, and with the ankle, etc., for Bron. I just think this road trip gives us an opportunity, a really rare opportunity, to make some of these players that we don't really like too much on this team raise their trade value or further prove themselves to be people we need to cut. But I do think that can be purposeful minutes for some of these lesser guys where we won't be able to simulate that, especially on the road against these type of teams. You will not get to simulate the type of opportunities for them to go up against guys that are just flat out better than them. And we know what happens when you play up against guys better than you. You either get better or you get swept up under the rug and never come back on the court again. So that's not what's going to happen to our guys. They're going to get better for whatever mistakes they make against better talent. And so as I strategize and I look at Anthony Davis being removed, I look at the positive in that. You don't necessarily get unhappy about the fact that you have to run Thomas Bryant and Damian Jones and Juan Toscano Anderson. You match up properly with the size and just let those guys go out there and get their butts kicked. Why? Because you're going to tell them exactly what you want them to do, and you're going to have them run specific things regardless of what the defense is doing, because you want them to get better. You want them to get absolutely better. So that's how I would strategize it. This would be an elaborate coaching game for the other guys, for Austin Reeves, for Wenyen Gabriel. Not Wenyen Gabriel, of course, but just other names, you know what I mean? For the guys on this team that don't get a lot of playing time. Troy Brown, you know what I mean? That's who I'm trying to say. You sit Patrick Beverly in that game. You rest Lonnie Walker because I know he's dealing with the foot as well. That's another one we're talking about. If you guys noticed in the video last night, I didn't mention Lonnie Walker very much. That was actually purposefully done because what I know that Lonnie's dealing with is that foot. I know for a fact that he's dealing with a bum leg that was re-aggravated several times in the game that he played on, Cleveland, Milwaukee. He's hurt that foot several times. Washington as well, it was aggravated. So him not shooting well and him not playing his best is directly related to his wheel being off. And so as I understand that, I just give him a pass for his poor shooting. But I would like him to scale it back from behind the arc if for some reason he sees it's not falling very well, because he knows his shot is good. He knows he can hit it, but if his wheel is off, it's going to affect the shot. So shooting 4 of them probably isn't best for him to strategize in games like that. But, when we're forced to shoot the 3 as we were in Cleveland, kind of don't have a choice, and I get it. That's why I kind of wanted us to get away from him, because he was hurt. At the end of the day, when you run hurt players, which is another thing that you consider, they're going to be unable to do some of the things that you need them to do. But you still won't be needing them to do it. So you're at a disadvantage. So that's what I want to say, Rest some of those other guys that are hurt. Rest Bron, rest Lonnie, rest AD. And let Russell Westbrook run it with Austin Reeves, Thomas Bryant, Damian Jones, all those other guys, man. Let those guys get these opportunities against the Torontos, against Detroit, and Philadelphia as well. And as we go into these places, we understand we're probably not going to win, but we're going in there with the intent of giving those guys minutes that they otherwise will never get, and giving our stars rest to get healthy and be ready for the homestand. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what clusters of games we win. It just matters that we strategize the best possibility to be healthy in the matchups possible. That way you can give yourself the best opportunity to win. We're trying to intellectually be competitive, as we always say, so we gotta find ways to stop the bleeding in areas, just like we do on the court, off the court, in regards to our players' health. And so when I hear things like flu or any type of contagion, it's like, all right, get him away from the team immediately before that thing spreads, because if another one spreads, it's over with. So that's how that goes. That's what's on my mind, you guys. I'm still a happy Laker fan. The Cleveland game didn't have my head hanging. I don't want Anthony Davis to play with 101 flu temperature. That ain't the way to go. So I'm glad he sat. I did understand that he had the temperature, so maybe that speaks to the back not being so true, that whole situation. Hopefully it's not, but I'm just telling you everything I hear about. At the end of the day, this is a good playing basketball team, which is why I don't mind coming in with a game plan that speaks this way, because it helps guys maintain their confidence to understand what's about to happen should not deter you from what it is that your responsibilities are on the court. We still want to win these games, so go out there and play well. Go out there, rebound the ball, go out there and play defense, go out there and try to run the plays that we're trying to run as a team to get better. Because once AD gets back, we're going back to being AD-eccentric, and you guys may not have the playing time to do so, which is another reason why we strategize these games this way. This is a great opportunity to get that playing time for those guys that I've been talking about that's been missing these last 10 games since we've been going to him so much. Guys have to be able to stay in rhythm so they can be good enough to compete. And so we got to be able to do all that and keep everybody healthy. And so this is the way to do it, and get those guys at playing time. You know what I mean? And see if we can get Austin Reeves to give us another 20 and 10 and 8. Big time LeBron-like numbers performance, because I know that kid is capable of doing that when you put the ball in his hands and just let him run the offense. I promise you send him to another team where he can run the offense like Washington or something, and you're going to see him turn into something really good. Because that's all he needs is consistent opportunities to run the offense, just like Russell Westbrook. You know what I mean? It's crazy how we find these players that are ball dominant, and then we put him next to LeBron James. It's like he's going to have a hard time running with these guys because he's a primary guy. But it's what we find every time. We always end up getting these type of players. So, I love the fact that we have Austin Reeves here. I want him to have his opportunities to run the offense, because that's the only way he's going to be good enough to be his best self. And with the way that we've been playing the offense these last couple of days, it's just not possible. And I'm seeing it, and it's disturbing me to a degree to where if I'm him, I'm wondering if I really want to be in LA going forward. if I can't get that opportunity. So that's that's something that's always in the back of my head with him, with his free agency looming. I'm just wondering, is there any shot we actually lose that kid? And we're thinking it's just a foregone conclusion. We're keeping Austin Reeves, but mess around and lose him, and then wish you actually traded him. You know what I mean? To get something for him. So I don't want that to be so far out of my mind that I don't mention it on this camera, because like I'm 90% sure we keep Austin Reeves, but there's a 10% chance that he's thinking from a basketball standpoint, there's just other opportunities for me to get the ball more and just show people that I'm really that dude that can play make and be a point guard in this league. And so his condition, he's going to have to catch up to that. I don't think he's ready for that type of role yet. I think if he stays with this team, he might be able to wait it out to where he will be able to have that role. But it's all about his development and the opportunities he gets when, him seizing those opportunities when they come and them coming frequently enough. So a lot of that's on Darvin Ham, and it's really hard to juggle that with Russell Westbrook being here and other guys. And so that takes me to Patrick Beverley and Dennis Schroeder. I really like Dennis Schroeder because he's playing well, and I know he's talented. Because he's talented, I really want to trade him. I know he's at an excellent price, so that doesn't make any sense. You can't really trade players like that. But what they actually are is like a cherry on top of a not so favorable trade to help make that trade favorable for you. That's exactly what he is. He's the guy you attach to Damian Jones and Patrick Beverley to make the team actually make the trade without asking for a first round pick, because he's that talented and that valuable, affordable rather, in his contract since he's expiring. I don't want to trade him because he's not good. Like I said, he's good. I want to trade him because I think we can get a player who's good, who can help us in a more favorable way for this roster. You know what I mean? If you got a player that good, but he's not favorable for you, somebody else could use what he is and give you something that more fits what you need. And so that's what I'm trying to get us to kind of think about in regards to Dennis Schroeder, because he really is a good player, man. And it has nothing to do with him not being able to help us. It's like the fact that you have to lean on him so much because he's so good, and then the fact that we're so small as a team, we end up running small ball nonsense because he's one of our best players. It's like, nah, I don't think that favors our roster. It just does not. Period. So that's where I'm at. Patrick Beverley and him, I do believe you can move them. I do believe you can move them. Now, I'm not, like I said, with the Patrick Beverley thing, I speak out of both sides of my mouth, because I'm happy if we don't trade Patrick too, for a lot of reasons that I think helps the team. And I've been on record saying that, but I'm just having a hard time denying myself the truth about his production on the floor. And I listen to people who are naysaying, and I can't disagree with him. I don't know that I value what he does off the court as much as I value the fact that he's a whole offensively on it. And when we rely upon him so much, it's a detriment to the squad. And our coach can't help himself but rely upon him. And so it's one of those type of things where it's like I feel like I have to disarm the coach from certain bad decisions. This small ball stuff, you have to stop it. We gotta this is a, what do you call that? A situation where the coach really, really likes a certain player and he's gonna play him no matter what. And so you gotta get that player out of there if that player can't help you. This is one of those. Last year, that player for us was Avery Bradley. That is who that was. Our coach could not stop playing Avery Bradley to save the team. We needed him to just sit Avery because Avery was just not helping us in a lot of areas that were necessary the majority of the time. And it was just one of those situations where he would run him out there, and of course, we would talk about it every night in a negative way. And it wasn't because we didn't like Avery, but he forced us not to like Avery because Avery wasn't producing. So this is yet another one of those situations with Patrick Beverley where we just got to put our players in positions to do what it is that they can do. And relying on guys to do too much puts them in situations where they look bad and the fans are mad at them. And it ain't their fault, it's the coaches. Who are we trusting? As I asked about a week and a half ago, Patrick Beverley, in regards to him on the court, I think we need to scale back. We're trusting him too much, and he's not producing offensively enough to make up for the holes that we ultimately need to make us the Fuller basketball club. We can go to Austin Reeves. We can lean more so on other players. We can call up Scottie Pippen, of whom is ready to go, as I've been telling people. to supplement what it means that we need from Patrick Beverley. As I've been saying, as I said initially when we got Patrick Beverley, I want Scottie Pippen to do the things that Patrick Beverley is supposed to do physically on the court. I just want Patrick Beverley to be the one to coach Scottie into doing those things. That's all I've ever wanted. He's supposed to be a glorified Rondo for Lonzo. Remember that? That's what I want Patrick here for. And for overall firing up and instilling a sense of pride in the purple and gold, which we can find, but not in the form that he brings it. He gonna make people understand there's pride to be understood in wearing whatever uniform he's wearing, and that is valuable beyond measure when you're considering establishing a winning culture amongst players that don't really believe. But we can't have those players be sitting while he's running and struggling, or have players that can play sitting while he's running and breaking shots, because it's still gonna lead to us losing, and ultimately we're trying to win. So like I said, if we're not going to use Patrick Beverley right, we do need to move him. And we need to attach Dennis Schroeder, possibly Kendrick Nunn, and some other guys, Damian Jones, maybe a few other guys that don't necessarily play as well for us, and bring us back some guys that can sharpen the toolbox that we have here. Because we are a very, very, very capable core right now. Even though Anthony Davis is missing games here and there, even now we can't rely upon his health, and we know that. But if you plan for that, just like any other team that would acquire him if we traded him, you will put yourself in a position to be able to have a really, really, really good situation going for yourself. So we just got to strategize the best thing for ourselves as a team. If we're going to move forward with Anthony Davis, we need to make sure we have enough talent around him so that he can take days off and still have a good team. That's the bottom line. That's our responsibility as the Lakers. If we're going to call him our A1, then we need to prioritize him properly. So that's what I'm saying. As far as everything else, of course, we'll have a video for you guys, in regards to the Toronto Raptors. That game is going to be coming up today early. Of course, it's on the road, and it's going to be a packed house. Of course, they're expecting their team to win, given the fact that we looked so bad against the Cleveland Cavaliers last night. So it's going to be incumbent upon the Los Angeles Lakers to lace up their bootstraps, match up, coach. Don't leave our guys at a disadvantage out there, and continue to fight, because I don't think our guys, from a principle standpoint, did anything wrong last night. I think they were forced to shoot the three because they were at a disadvantage from a size standpoint, and I think as a result we did what we do when we shoot a lot of threes. We bricked them, and that's pretty much it. So when you have Donovan Mitchell going off for 43 points and the length of those players and disrupting us, and Allen basically not missing any shots, it is what it is. And I still thought our team had an opportunity to win. Even with 8 minutes to go and we were down by, with 4 minutes to go rather, and we were down by 8, I still felt like this team really could have competed with that team. So, as far as I can tell, this is a Toronto team that's been struggling as well. They've been playing horribly. We can come in here with the lineup that we had last night, run the way that we did before we subbed in those small players, and keep up with a team like Toronto, who was struggling last week, if they're struggling like they were last week. So that's what it is. Now, if they run everybody 100% and play the way they're supposed to, we're not going to beat them. But we can still get some good run out of our guys and still learn some real good data about our players. If we run them enough tonight and see what they can do, whether we win or lose, we'll know who we have. And a little better than we already do, and I think that can help us a lot. I don't think we really know what Troy Brown could really do yet. He's kind of hesitant out there because we don't really allow him to get into his bag in regards to shooting. Now, I don't think he's overly talented, but I do think that he has some real strengths that we can lean on, and I'd love to know exactly how far into his bag he can go and just how much better he can play defensively when his offense is clicking, because I think he might be one of those guys. So it's one of those situations where we just got to see what guys can do. Kendrick Nunn, he had started playing better, and then we just got him off the floor after a game where he had 4 turnovers. I still think the key to Kendrick Nunn, Kobe minute, salute. I still think the key to Kendrick Nunn is getting him an opportunity to see himself in lineups that allow for specific actions. And so we've gotten away from running him in that kind of way, and I think that would be a great way to get back into rhythm is kind of seeing him in these next couple games get a little more minutes, 15, 18 minutes, as to which you're never going to play him anyway, but you still want him to stay in rhythm, you still want him to be active, and you ain't going to send him back to the G League to do that, even though when we did, he came back a different player. So I just want guys to continue to get reps. I saw upside in Damian Jones yesterday, albeit, I always temper my expectations with the player, but he played well. You know what I mean? He played reliable backup center basketball, which is something that he didn't give us previously. But the bottom line is we've learned not to give up on guys. We've learned on this team that our team as a unit works on itself. And so I have every reason to believe that even the last man on the team is going to take on that because he's also being led by that same group. And so it's one of those things where we need to root for one another. I'm learning that. If you're going to be a part of a unit and you're going to speak on the unit, you got to encourage the unit if you want to see it successful. And so that's what I want to do. I don't think we have guys that can't play basketball. You know what I'm saying? I thought that 2 weeks ago. I'm not saying these guys are crazy great, but I do not expect them to get blown out. I don't. Austin Reeves, Troy Brown. And if you empower these guys, put them in positions with Russell Westbrook, they can make plays and they can get stops. You know what I mean? And so that's what I want to encourage them to do. Believe that. It's going to be hard with the front court. Juan Toscano, Anderson, Troy, without Wenyen Gabriel, obviously, Damian Jones. Those guys are going to have to do the best they can and understand that, their best is good enough. You know what I mean? That's what it is. You just got to be who you are. And so until Rob Pelinka gives us some help, this is what we have. But I do not want our coach to put us in a position to have no chance just simply because guys aren't overly talented and he wants to lean on the talented guys who happen to be shorter. No, I'm sorry, Darvin, that is the wrong strategy for us. You're going to definitely lose that way. At least if you match up with size, guys can overachieve and give themselves a chance. You go out there with guys that are my height going up against 7-footers, they have no chance. And they're going to be dejected and fail and feel like failures because of it. It ain't going to be on them. And so that's what it really comes down to. We got to know what keeps the morale high and respect the fact that we have a fragile confidence level in regards to our team. So let's do things that are deliberate. Let's communicate our plans. If we're going to lose, let's say that. You know what I mean? Let's not pretend like we have an opportunity to win when we can't. Let's go out there with a plan to lose with a purpose. And that's what I have here in this camera. My name is BDL44. I thank you for watching. I'm out.